It looks like we're rolling. What is up, everyone? It's Nathan Modern. Welcome back to the podcast, Relatedness. We're here with the one and only cannabis pioneer, extract pioneer, Jayson, Giddy up, owner of Emotek Extract. Emoteklabs.com is where you could find him, and all of his creations. So he has patents on this closed loop extract creation that is used widely across the cannabis market. If you just Google closed loop extract, you can find pages and pages on it. So Giddy has won multiple awards, cannabis cups, and has done a lot of work for the industry. So definitely appreciate him coming out and speaking with us today. Thank you, Giddy. Welcome.
Yeah, my pleasure. How do you follow an intro like that? Blush. My pleasure to be here at the podcast.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you. You can keep doing what you're doing. Pretty much keep on keeping on. Pushing forward the science of the industry. There's a lot of people. There's someone specifically I talked to, a friend the other day who I talked to, and he was saying that he was afraid because the science of cannabis hasn't been really worked on. And I was like, this is kind of ironic because I'm talking to someone who has filed a patent and has registered a patent and has a trademark on the word live rosin and the usage of live rosin. So it's actually, it's definitely being worked on and being pushed forward by people. Can you?
Oh, it's there's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of innovation in cannabis, and I guess that's part why your friend may be correct. Is like because for as much innovation we have, don't really have a very clear and concise communicating scientific community around cannabis that has the same resources and capabilities that regular scientific communities has, right? Access to colleges, access to federal funding research, and that's all by design. That way because they want to stifle the research into cannabis. That's where big pharma and everybody come into play, and all the people that have vested interest in selling medical treatments. Cannabis treats a lot of things, but I think everybody kind of knows that. But the brilliant thing is in our own little way, is it hasn't stopped the innovation and the grassroots research, we'll call it, by all of us being guinea pigs, smoking cannabis item, whatnot. That being said, there's a lot of stuff out there that's comparable, like we may not have done certain things with cannabis, but we've done it with other botanical pieces of steel. And the science is clear in these other areas. Why wouldn't it be clear, when applied to cannabis? But, I think we're exponentially picking up speed in both areas. Right. I think there's far more scientific research now than there's ever been. I think there's more cannabis research in now than there is in some of the other things that we consume daily. Places like the FDA here in America.
Right.
So,
have you ever ran into issues in terms of banking? Like, have you ever had trouble?
Always. Multiple troubles. We've had, multiple bank accounts shut down. The bank accounts that we have now are through credit unions, and they're really aggressive banking programs. They're not much to privacy or, the same luxuries afforded to other companies that have bank accounts.
Right. So So what I want to do is I want you to explain in layman's terms for someone like my mom, or those people who have no clue what closed loop extraction is. I want you to do like a super quick explanation of what it is.
All right. So like the best way to describe it is the components in cannabis, like THC, they exist in the oil of the plant. They don't actually exist in the plant material. So we remove those oils by machine from the plant so that you can take it and you can put it into things like edibles, you can dose it properly, and you can make smoking products that you don't have to burn the plant material, like vape pens and concentrates, which are, what we can see, better for you than smoking incinerated plant material.
Right. With carcinogens and...
Right. Back in the day, this used to be done with a very dangerous process. And nowadays, it's done through equipment like my patent equipment that meet today's standard coding requirements and safety requirements, people using it.
Right. So you sell your machines on mass scale across internationally, correct?
Yes, my machines are international. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but there are hundreds of my machines out there in the world doing their thing, making hash safely and making medicine.
Right. And commonly the problem with extraction is getting the BHO out of, and the remaining extracting material out of what you're smoking, correct?
Well, not really. I think that's one of the perceived problems, right? Like, I think people are just kind of put off when they hear things like butane, right? They think chemical, bad. But when you look at it from a physics standpoint, it's perfect. It's a non-polar solvent. What I mean by non-polar is it doesn't bind what we're using for, right? It never attaches to the oil. It's always next to the oil. Like when you mix, never actually attaches to the oil.
That's super interesting.
Because it doesn't attach to the oil, it's exceptionally easy to remove all of it from the oil because you don't have to apply high heat to break it down, right? You don't have to disrupt the makeup of the oils and stuff that you're extracting to remove the solvent. Butane is non-toxic. It's organic, naturally existing gas. It's what we call a hydrocarbon. The reason that we like to use it is because in our temperature settings and our pressure settings and atmosphere, it's a gas. And with just a little bit of work, we can turn it into a liquid. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. It doesn't take a lot of work removing heat. We can turn it into a liquid. And when we turn it into a liquid, it doesn't mix with oil. It doesn't bind with oil. And oil will literally break down into its individual molecules in it. Like, it's the perfect tool for removing oil from solid matter. Now, that can be plants. That can be fish. That can be shell stuff.
Wow.
Right? But that's why butane was good. And now the benefits, like the butane will destroy microbial life, right? But, you coming into contact with butane, if you actually look and saw how much butane you actually had to be around, and how much you had to inhale for how long, you're like, that's not so much as butane as suffocating, right? The same old deal's like, you can smoke enough weed to OD, but like you'd have to smoke your 200 pounds of weed.
Right.
And it wouldn't be the weed that killed you, it'd be because you just breathed in 200 pounds of smoke.
It suffocated you, essentially.
Right. So, butane's gotten a bad rap. A lot of that bad rap has came from bubble hash guys that
Use
You know,
water.
they use water. You know, and like they needed an enemy because let's just be real, when BHO showed up, nobody wanted bubble hash. Small group of people wanted bubble
Well,
hash,
Shatter and
right?
all these
Like
things started coming out, like
that's what I'm
oils.
saying. Shatter, everything like that. When all that started coming out, nobody wanted the stuff that's been around for 40 years. Like, and that's just the nature of the beast, right? Like, um, you know, and like I have friends that I love bubble hash. You're wrong. Like, I have friends that were making stuff that were balling. You know what I mean? And then people started making dabs, and those guys were like, "Bro, nobody wants to buy my shit." I'm going, "Bro." So they made rosin, right? They started squishing the oil out of it, and and sadly, what a lot of them did was they started saying things like, "Bro, that's made with butane." You're like, "I smoke this. It's more pure." They try to smoke shame people, right? Like,
Right.
and that's if rosin was better than butane, the whole marketing ploy wouldn't be to shame somebody into smoking a company.
No, no, and
So
it's always just been getting better, right? That's why it exists. I think that's what's
don't get me wrong, rosin is good, but rosin doesn't require as much cost up front to make.
right. Those volumes get
It's
high.
not, yeah, it's not nearly as dangerous. And on top of that, like when you look at from a commercial production standpoint, the numbers don't add up. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really make a ton of sense to make live rosin if you need to produce tens of thousands of grams. You know, now your cost of production is crazy. You need lots of manpower, lots of little machines, workstations, stuff, right?
Yeah, your machines that you have are they look pretty freaking intricate.
Yeah, like my machines can run, hundreds of pounds a day. Like that's a very tall order when you're doing rosin.
Have you spoke to
But
companies that aren't cannabis extraction companies?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, I've sold to fragrance companies. Like butane is a very common use solvent in the nutraceutical industry. Um, a lot of them, they don't use butane anymore because CO2 cheaper and easier in the long run. But there are certain processes that CO2 extraction isn't good for getting. That's some of the lighter, more volatile terpenes, the monoterpenes, diterpenes. They're not as efficient as removing those as are.
Really interesting. Wow. Terpene extractor. That's
Yeah, you can throw anything in my machine, bro. It's pretty cool. You want like I know people that run lobster shell through my machine, pull crab oil and shit out.
ooh. Imagine cooking.
Yeah, you want to hit some of those terps?
Hitting them crab
You want
turps.
some of them crab terps, Bubba? Taken care of.
Getting crazy. Love it. Pushing.
There's a company I know that uses my machine to extract cedar oil.
Cedar oil. Do you use it for fragrances?
It's actually a pesticide additive.
Oh.
It keeps scorpions away and spiders away and shit like that.
That is crazy. That is super intuitive. I think that is super, super intuitive. Creating a machine that is not just for cannabis. It's extending into different markets. Man, that's super inspiring. Where are you based out of?
Now we're based out of Norman, Oklahoma. We were based out of Colorado for a long time, but once Oklahoma wouldn't leave, and we moved the company back to Norman.
Is that where you're born and raised, Colorado?
No, Colorado. I moved to Colorado in 2000, and I was born and raised in Moore,
You were born and raised in.
Oklahoma, like Oklahoma City area.
Yeah, it just cut out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I lagged with my bad. Now, Moore is the place with all the tornadoes.
Okay. So it was Wizard of Oz style, like farmland.
Yeah, well, I mean, I lived in the city. Half the people that live in Oklahoma live in Oklahoma City.
What was it like
But if
growing up in Oklahoma?
for a pothead, it was different because we have always had exceptionally strong cannabis laws. Um,
Okay, it's an illegal state.
at the time when I was growing up here, yes, and it was like super illegal. We had people serving 99 years for growing 5 plants.
What?
Technically, the job that I do now, and you can see me talk about this, like when I did Fox News, out of Tulsa, videos out there. I did. It was a life sentence. My day job right now was a life sentence when I lived here. Like,
Right.
I had to leave.
Pig.
Yeah, I had to leave home to follow my dream because my dream quite literally got me put in prison the rest of my life.
How old were you when you left?
Man, I was in my mid to late 20s. I left in 2010. So I was like 28. And like for me, I had kind of fucking, ran around, done a bunch of shit, couldn't find my way. Like everything and like what I was doing was like trying to figure out what I was supposed to do with myself. And one night I just realized like the one constant that I've had was my love for weed. And I made up the decision to just, fully commit to what I wanted to do. And Colorado was not like legal yet, but it wasn't being enforced. So I had to move up there and like figure out how I was going to get in, to a budding industry. We opened a dispensary, lost it. Back then, like zoning and shit wasn't always clear.
Wow.
Beginning
What year was this? 2000...
2010.
2010. That was pretty early.
It's pretty early for like opening dispos and shit. Like it was 2 years before House Bill 1284. So it wasn't impossible to do. It was just very gray area, right? Like it's really hard to set up for something long term when you don't know, what's going to happen next month, next 3 months, or if a rule's going to pass, rules are going to put you out. It was definitely one of those things that.
But do you have a dispensary now?
I do. No, I came home. I opened up my own dispensary in the same parking lot I used to sell weed in like 20 years ago.
It's the American dream.
And I love it. It's one of those. I was always inspired by. I don't know who said them first, and I don't know. What context they were even referring to it in, but I heard this speaker say, if you're not willing to like sacrifice everything that you have and that you are right now for just the chance of what you could be, then you're not ready to do it. But if you're willing to go, I will fucking sell off all my shit. I will leave my friends and family. I will go to wherever it is the best likely chance I have to succeed. And I don't know how, but I'm going to fucking do it. Like, I'm going to find a way. And if I have to fucking, give up everything for that shot, so be it. If you're willing to do that, your dream will come true. Maybe not in the way you were thinking right then, but somewhere along the struggle, you will find out that you made it and you didn't realize it. You are doing what you love. You are doing what you're supposed to. And it may not be exactly how you thought it was going to be, but it is what it is. You're doing what you're supposed to.
That home
failure. Yeah, like just the grit, right? Like take somebody that moved from fucking New Jersey, right, or some other state a while back, and it's like, I'm gonna go work in the fucking weed industry. They moved out to Cali, They got a job as a trimmer, and then they got a job as a bud tender. And, and fucking 7 years down the line, they're a senior fucking person at the facility that they work at, and they have a career. And no, they don't own a dispensary and they don't own a grow. But they're doing what they fucking love every day. You know what I mean? They're glad they did it.
Yeah.
How is that not fucking making that dream come true? You know what I mean? How is that not being worth it?
Oh my goodness, right. In Canada, it becoming legal, and for me, that's one of my main things that I bring up. The fact that it's created an industry. I have a roommate who came to Canada from India 2 years ago, and a couple months ago, I got a job at a cannabis store called Yerba Buena. Thanks, guys. And so I'm helping them out, and my roommate sees me get a job, and he's like, wow, I want to get a job at a dispensary too. He literally gets a job down the road at another dispensary. So, and he came to Canada from India 2 years ago. So, and now he's getting paid upwards of $17 to $20 an hour. So I think it's super cool that a whole industry has come out of legalization.
That's the best part, bro. And I'm a big proponent of that when I speak and when I talk to regulators, that it's very important to realize the ground up effect that the cannabis industry has. A lot of the people that are employed by the cannabis industry now, a couple of years ago, were, for pardon the pun, chronically unemployable, right? Like, they failed drug tests that they couldn't put into a career. Like, they were one drug test away from losing. And now that's given them a place to go and be fulfilled human beings. Nobody likes being unfulfilled. Nobody likes feeling like a loser, right? Like, when you have something that fulfills you, you're a better person. That's healthy for everyone.
Oh my goodness, it's like fulfilling the purpose. That's like the saying that we'll have a purpose. Definitely, it makes us feel like we have a cause, and even fulfilling a cause literally gives us a cause. It's not even, it's living out that cause, and
right. And what happens along the way, the learning of how your hard work and your passion has effect on the world and the people around you. And when they go, dude, like, for me, it was like I set out early on in this to make sure that people didn't go to jail for weed anymore and that everybody had access to marijuana. I don't know if anybody noticed, but my side's fucking winning. And just knowing that we can accomplish something like that big fucking world changing thing, like, dude, what, we can do anything. We can do anything.
Yeah, it's safe to say that keeps you motivated.
And everybody has a little part of it. You know what I mean? It's not any one person. I'm super blessed, and I'll go to my grave being content with the mark I left on the world because of my son, the work I did in Canada. But it wasn't just me, like, I may have done some industry first. I may have invented some stuff. Hell, I may have changed the game. You know what I mean? But
do you want to give a shout out? Do you want to thank who do you want to thank the most? I guess is there anyone you want to thank the most for where you're at now? Did you have did you have a mentor?
Yeah, I do. I do have a mentor. I found in the middle of all my stuff. His name is Joe Aranzio. He was a vice president at Sony Digital for a long time. He's really helped me out as a businessman, and person, and as a man. Just how I have a lot of masculine in my life. Like, that's never been the issue, right? What I haven't had is a lot of mature masculine. I've had a bunch of talk strong, talk shit, real rough around the edges, melon.
Alpha maleness, as I understand.
I wouldn't even say alpha male. You know what I mean? I would just say
Maleness.
aggressive, right? Like
Aggressive.
yeah, just aggressive. And Joe was the first person that I walked with that he is not aggressive. You know, I mean, he's assertive. Like nobody thinks Joe's a chump, but he's not a hard ass. He's very kind and gentle with people, and 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 that was my first time seeing somebody masterfully execute the approach of maturity and respect, and doing those things to get the end results that you're trying to get. You know, like I go into meetings if something's fucking with me, like everybody's gonna know it. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna speak my mind pretty unfiltered. It's gonna be blatantly obvious that I am holding back so that I'm not an asshole, because that's my natural given. With Joe, he accomplishes everything he wants, rectifies, fixes all the problems, and walks away with the people liking him more. Which for me is just an amazingly impressive talent that I lack with a certain number of people. I'm a love me or hate me guy. You either love me or you can fucking stand me. There's no real middle ground.
Right. You're also a general. You're like a general. You're a leader. You have to have those qualities, right? So,
I think that comes from being my own boss. Sometimes, 19, and being the person that makes the decisions and doing all this shit. Like you kind of get hardened to the feelings aspect side of it and stuff. And you're just really result oriented. Sometimes people's feelings hurt, and it seems like you don't care, but like when you're working and trying to accomplish something for a large group of people or a company, try not to let your feelings get involved in it. But not everybody can do that. And we see that in the worst end when you see, Hollywood, Salinas, the type of environment that Joe, my mentor, came up in. We're talking fucking network movie executives, bro. Like, it doesn't get any more fucking cutthroat.
Right. I've heard some of them talking. I've worked on some films.
Right. Like, they're fucking scary. no friends, no ethics, right? Like, they'll just fucking eat their own young to get ahead. And that's probably the most impressive, I can think of right now about my mentor, is that he existed in a world like that on his own terms, never, sacrificed his integrity and never became a jaded dick like I am.
Right. I can see how that can happen, especially after going through so many scenarios that can harden you and make you into definitely, an angrier or
Are you happy where the current state of cannabis is?
Currently?
Are you happy with the Chads, Brads fucking taking over and the brands, the people that existed in the cannabis industry for the years before that being pushed out? The National Guard being used against cannabis growers in Northern California? Overtaxation of medical marijuana patients. Selective laws where they're trying to corner the market and give it to their pharmaceutical friends. It's like, is that what you wanted for cannabis when you saw this change taking place back in the day that inspired you to fuck with it? Talk about it?
That's a good point. For me, I never really saw it like that. I just saw it as a push forward. Just, we need to get this done. It needs to happen now. It doesn't matter how it's done.
And when that happens, and this is real important, I think, for everybody to understand with our current climate of politics, is that when you are driven to an emotional reaction, any port in a storm will do for you if you are emotional enough. That means you will go with an idea that seemingly looks like it's a push in the right direction, when in actuality, it's the setup, the exploitation of your emotion.
Right, and that exploitation is what has happened indeed. And I think that's the battle between maybe good and evil in the industry, because, man, the packaging for cannabis. Oh, do I have something around here? Yeah, I do.
I'm sure you do. How much trash are we putting back in for supposedly a green industry? You know what I mean?
You can get a gram in this type of container. One single.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not.
Put that up to your ear, you can hear the ocean. But you know, that happens. That's how the powerful stay powerful. These are all tools in their tool cabinet. This transition, weed transitions to everyday politics. You know, like
getting paid somewhere.
It behooves all of us to take our time when we're building something, so that we're building something that lasts a long, not something that becomes a problem. In my state now, a lot of people that supported medical marijuana don't support it anymore because of the ineptness of our state on enforcement of illegal grows.
Oh, wow.
And the buying up of local property from out of state and out of country investors.
It's just monopolized so hard, really. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like everybody knows somebody that's into it, and they can't come together to help us as an industry. They can only see how to make money off of us by hindering and over-regulating us, over-taxing it. It's a medicine, and they're regulating it and taxing it like a vice, without letting it have the same market share that a vice has. It's a broken system. It's broke. It'll never really work. And that, my friend, they realize now too can be part of it. Because if every state is different, and every state is broken in its own way, well then who's going to step in to try and take it? The federal government. And then we'll get federal laws on top of our state. And we'll all have to conform to something that, in more likeliness than not, if history is our teacher, is going to make it worse.
You're not excited for Daddy Biden?
I'm not excited for anybody in the government, really, when it comes to weed, but definitely not
a politician.
Not a Sleepy Joe. Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, Paul.
Dude, I'm a slightly right-leaning conservative, right? Like, I'm more of a moderate unless you take me to a very liberal place, right? Like, I'm a liberal in Oklahoma, and I am a conservative in Hollywood.
Right.
And so when I see the back and forth, and I see how everybody's just kind of stacking up their pieces and their exploitive tools, right? Like, they like, boom, cannabis. All right, well, let's look at cannabis and how is it racist, right? Oh, well, cannabis is racist because predominantly people of color have been taken to jail more for cannabis than white people, and now white people are making money off it. Well, have you seen how diverse the ownership is in the medical marijuana world? It's got to be one of the most diverse industries in the world. Like, because we're all just drug dealers, and every group of people has its drug dealer.
That's so true.
You know what I mean?
My job. It's like, did you sell drugs before? Yep. Okay, great.
I was asked to speak on a diversity council, and I was the only white person on the council.
Wow.
Like, everybody else was black. I'm like, this just seems weird, right? Like, it doesn't seem like diversity. This seems like the Black Cannabis Caucus, right? Which I'm all for, but like,
Right, because it's been the
Like,
opposite forever.
sure, but like, like diversity, like that allow everybody in, right? Like we got to get a representation of everybody, not just one other, not just a different class of people,
Or the
the
people with
same way.
money, right? Like just the
Right,
monopoly.
right, and I think that you see we see everybody battling it now, and when you have that kind of you know wokeism getting deep down into things, I think it doesn't accomplish the goal that it's trying to convince the world that it's trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? It doesn't really do anything for affected minorities or, people that were in prison for marijuana, based like based off the fact that they were in prison for marijuana. Like, I don't see why, you know, race or religion or sexuality or anything like that should be the underlying factor of how we approach it. You know what I mean? Just excludes everybody that's not involved. But weed is the weird thing that, like, as part of this, I think, weird flip where I think you see a lot of younger, this new generation conservative people that are more libertarian leaning than evangelical base that the conservative party is used to. I think they're for equal rights. I think they're for everybody's social equity, right? Like everybody being able to get married, everybody having a fair shot, everybody having equal access to
Right.
everybody
Empowering all different types
right.
of people. Because
that's what I see a lot of. Yeah, and like the party that I fuck with nowadays, is just making it where keep the powerful off the backs of the powerless.
Right. That's always the scariest thing, right? And it definitely happens common.
And if all the people in power right now were one type of people, they were all straight, you know what I mean? Or they were all brown or red or purple or whatever. Then I don't think you'd see many people that that would jump on board with the dismantling of that power structure. But we have a super diverse, and if you look across the world, right, like that's really where we're at. All we can compare ourselves to is other countries. And you look at the diversity of the leadership and powerful in our country, it's insanity, right? Like it's super diverse.
So now what I want to say is maybe what would you recommend for someone who is starting a business? I just watched The Banker, and it was about a black fellow who started owning real estate and actually bought a bank so he could give loans to more black people to help him get started. What would you recommend for cannabis brands?
I would recommend that these brands and these people doing it donate to places like fucking Mickey's charity. I'm fucking super stoned right now and thinking the name of it. But it's a charity that takes care of kids whose parents have been locked up for cannabis charges. It helps them have Christmases. It helps them get school clothes. Like, just remember, like what got you there. Like, take care of our own. There's too much divisive shit for us to not look at each other as a community of cannabis business owners and people that work around. Because believe me, if you go to the cups and shit, you'll see it's a real small world. Like, we're all there all the time. It's all the same people.
Right.
Until we can reach out and help make sure that it isn't taken over by the conglomerates, like quit fucking people. Like, look at what you're smoking. Quit buying these big fucking corporate brands. Shop with your nose, shop with quality. Find somebody that
locally.
Or shop locally. Like that's trying to make it, because that's where you're going to see it. If not, your money's going to G wagons in Southern California and fucking Cuban links in Miami. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to change your community like it can. talking about earlier. This is a ground up thing. Like it employs the people in your area when like they get brand, makes business on.
Yeah, can you drop that charity one more time?
What was it? It was hot prison. I'm gonna look it right now.
Yeah, that's super cool. Because there's definitely I'm gonna get one of the old CEOs of Canopy Growth Corp hopefully on the podcast, and he's done some great things. You know, I want to get people who are pioneers. You know, he did start a corporation of cannabis, but he left the company, maybe removed from the company. I'm not sure the exact story. Hopefully we can get it cleared up in a podcast. And so yeah, man, I definitely
I'm looking right now. I'll have to hit you back for an update, guys. Look for it in the comments so I can make sure to direct you to the exact right spot.
Yeah, we'll put a link.
Yeah.
Do you have any new products that you want to highlight?
Yeah, Giddy's Farm. After all this time of doing extracts and doing stuff, like we're happy to have our own flower production facility in Oklahoma now. On the Emotek side, we're doing selective releases of larger scale equipment now, mainly. Kind of stopped producing the smaller units. The industry is just growing in size. In order to keep up, we're focusing on units that were 10 times the size of our. So if you're opening up a large production facility and you need some design assistance and sourcing your equipment and setting up your line for you, we're always available.
Yes. And where do you distribute the bud that you grow at your farm?
All over the state of Oklahoma. We're looking forward to Oklahoma.
Now, do you have a strain that you want to... Do you have like a favorite strain that you grow?
Always, man. I'm a big fan of my garlic bud cut.
Garlic bud?
Yeah, it dumps. It's our garlic. It's one of the old 90s garlic bud cuts.
Is it like more of an indica, sativa?
It's an indica-leaning hybrid. And it's strong. But like you can't stop smoking.
You can buy this in Oklahoma.
Yeah, you can buy it in Oklahoma. And if you want to try some of our concentrate, that's more your thing. Check out High Voltage Extracts up in Canada. That's my Canadian partners up there. We've got a lot of dabs.
Really high voltage, so you can get some of Giddy's stuff from High Voltage Extracts. I wonder if they distribute legally. But here it is. Yeah, I found it. That's super dope, man. That's super smart. Like I said, it's super inspiring to see. I have Dollar Pape Club, and I've been doing my thing. Getting into it with pitching to distributors to hopefully get my papers into their distribution network, and literally doing all the groundwork and being your own boss in the cannabis industry. Definitely super inspiring, and that's why I'm making this, to show people kind of like a field guide to making it pretty much.
There's no there, and this is it. Like, accepting this as the short. Okay. Whatever plans you make, no one gives a fuck. Universe doesn't give a fuck. The people you work with don't give a fuck. You will set up and plan for everything that could go wrong. You will step foot in the direction of your goals, and your world will fucking fall apart. That I can guarantee. And if it doesn't you just step towards your goals and plan, and it works perfectly for you, well then give me some money, bro, because you're special and like one in a million. It's like Elon Musk shit, right? Like, but if you're failure is part of it. Failure is the most important part of it, right? Like that's what it takes. You'll fucking crawl over miles of broken glass. One day you'll get to stand up and you'll look back and be like, "Oh my God, I've come so far." And that was so hard that nobody else really came with me. I did this on my own. Like I carved my own. The rewarding feeling of that is the win itself. Whether or not, like I said, you end up becoming a rich business owner, successful, making your parents proud, showing everybody that didn't believe in you fucking successful, or if you just find happiness. And like, I'm so glad that this is what I do, and like I can be doing construction somewhere right now, or I can be doing whatever job I used to be doing, and life could be boring and I wouldn't know or have any of this experience. So blessed and grateful. Blessed is a hashtag now. Now it's a fucking something that you say when they take a picture on social media. The woke. Right? Like, but to like understand like the true thing there is to understand how and why you are blessed. And in order to understand that, you have to understand how you suffer. And if you just sit around all day scared to make a move because you're afraid to suffer, then you're not ready for the parts that come after. Just fucking do it. It ain't gonna be no worse. Nothing to lose. Hopefully, if you treated your people right where you're from, you can always come back with your tail between your legs, and you can start over where you left off. Yeah. But not taking chances.
The value is in the energy of that getting up and figuring out how to get up and get going again, because once you get going again, if it goes very well, then you're off to the races and you're above where you were. That is ascension, essentially, where you made a mistake, figured out not to make the mistake, improve on the mistake, growth.
The real problem that we have with ego, I'm not even saying for like people that are egomaniacs, just ego itself, right? At a very young age, a very uninformed age, a very influential age, we decide that we know what the fuck is going on. And we know how we are perceived by the world around us, right? Like, we have that mentality going into young adulthood.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
It is. Dude. It's the worst.
It's like, yeah, I know. Like, no, you don't know. Like, stop.
If you're not willing to make some of the changes yourself, if you think I'm perfect the way I am, like, that's bad. If you're constantly the way you are, you're boring.
Right.
You're a fucking boring person. You're not growing, you're not changing, you're not doing. So I think we've been lulled into this false sense of security of being, of saying that being content with who you are makes to where you don't have to try and change. It stunts us as people. We remember that, sometimes I'm a fucking idiot. And there's a really good chance that one of those things that I don't think I'm a fucking idiot about, I can be an idiot about. Like, and if I never realize that, and I never tell myself that, I'm going to keep being that idiot in those situations.
Right.
Right? Just because I take it personal that I wasn't doing it right. I wasn't living it right. I was wrong. And I just didn't want to admit it.
That brings me to a question I was going to ask you, probably one of the last ones, is when you're in a very intense or overwhelming situation, what do you do to cool yourself down or get yourself back into a clear head space?
I put on a program that I've seen, 1,000 times. Pick a TV show or something. One that I know so intricately that, like, I know everything that's going on. I know what's in the background. I know the facial expressions of everybody on the screen. I know what they're going to say without looking at it. I can literally picture it in my head, just like watching it on the show, right?
You're familiar.
And Yeah, and I do that, man. I don't know if I'm the only one that does it. I don't even know if it's good or bad, right? Like,
But it works.
but it works, right? And like, I literally watch it in my head as opposed to watching it on screen. And I let my head fill in all the pictures that I know are there, and I know all that. When I'm doing that, I can't think about much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm literally jumping around, like flash frame on a scene. I'm looking at colors of shirts. I'm looking at, where eyes are pointing, what's in the background. Like, I'm trying to paint this whole image that essentially eats up all my bandwidth so that I just focus on that and nothing else. And usually by the time I'm done with an episode, it's almost meditative. It's more like kinetic meditation, if we can coin that phrase now, right? It's instead of the absence of everything, it's like immersion in the static.
Yeah, you're creating a world essentially.
Like, just trying to keep my brain going at the pace that it runs with during the day. That's why I smoke. Like I catch up to my brain when I smoke. It don't always make sense, but like I'm going at the same kind of speed that my thoughts are going.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear if anybody else does something like that, because I can tell from the comment section on a bunch of shit that I watch that I can't be the only one. Like, I've watched this like 800 times now. Like, fucking quoted.
Hell yeah.
I'm sure my wife looks at me crazy because she'll walk in my office. I'll have like an episode of Star Trek The Generation playing while I'm doing something on another screen.
There's something therapeutically relaxing about it, and I know it for a fact because I went to London, England, and I didn't have access to bud, and I had been smoking for a long time, so I had lost my appetite and a little, and I was having some trouble sleeping, so I watched hockey, and hockey is like, there's only like 3 frames. Home side, away side, and middle of the ice.
Right.
Like, so it was just bouncing back and forth, and it was just so therapeutic for me. Oh my goodness, it was crazy. It made me fall asleep so easily.
Human brain's crazy thing, man. Crazy. Everything more or less see or fuck with on a daily idea, like food, communication, rest. Like, we all started without any of that shit. Literally, us created everything that we see today in all of its glory.
We are the creators. Well, some people are consumers, but I feel like we are creators.
Well, I mean, everybody's a creator in their way, like in the code, whether the creation comes from inspiring another person because of the problems you have with, right?
Okay.
Guys like, dude, this guy, like, people can't swing a hammer anymore. What's it with nail gun? That's faster, quicker. You don't wear out all day.
Right.
Right? Like, it's all our interaction. Literally just stuff that exists in our own mind that brought all this possibility of everything that we're doing. Fucking bars, blue, all that shit. All started with us.
Creativity has zero bounds. Zero bounds. Literally.
Yeah. It's a creative force, it's a destructive force. Like, that's why our world is so chaotic. You can't create something without destroying something. That's a very real thing. You can't create nylon without destroying that textile. Can't do a cash for clunkers program to help Social Security without hurting mechanics that made a living on working on cars that broke down. Like, can't simplify something and not create another new problem that creativity is going to have to overcome. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right.
We're at the point where people are breaking windows so they can fix it after and call the people so they can fix it.
Right. I mean, stuff like that, like we get blindsided because we're being pushing forward and, for lack of a better term, being aggressive, right? Like, is it's just good for everybody because we're pushing the ball forward and we're getting along. But in the end, the faster you push that, the more you bowl over, and in the wake of that progression lies chaos.
Right, exactly. That's a good, that shattered glass, fucking metaphor is perfect. Chaos. Yeah. The chaos that ensues. Just to be fixed by someone waiting to fix it. But there's definitely, a balance.
We got a lot of work to do as people. And my little closing deal on it is my contribution to that has been, I think weed helped with almost all of our problems.
Yeah, there's been a shattered glass for a time with cannabis.
Yeah, and I think that bringing that to the people and like getting access and that better is makes me perfectly content with the work I put in, and I hope that Jack was right when he said, I don't know if cannabis will save the world, but it's the only thing that can. Right? Like,
hey, fucking man. Jack Herr. That's amazing.
Jack said that. So.
That's an amazing quote. I totally want to end on that, man. I thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with everyone. Me.
I hope it wasn't. I hope it was what everybody wanted out of the show. A little get high and get real. And
hell yeah!
I enjoyed it.
It's gonna
hope
help
everybody else does.
So many people. It's changes the world in small ways, regardless. So
hopefully somebody hears this and goes, yeah, I'm ready to move. Like, I'm about to leave.
Oh yeah, right, dude. I moved to Toronto. You moved to Colorado, dude.
Well, it was a pleasure, man. I'm gonna go kiss my kid.
Amazing, man. Have a great evening. Ciao, brother.
Bye, everyone.